Hey guys, this is V. Rigoni, Max, high performance real estate entrepreneur. Thanks for joining me. So, what are we going to talk about today? Well, we're going to talk about what the hell is going on out there in the world for this whole holiday Christmas shopping thing. Once again, people just being in the herd, just running towards the cliff. So, before we start though, subscribe to the channel. If you like the content, then hit the like button. What's the deal? Right? Leave a comment. We answer questions, things of that nature. So let's get on with it. And really, the bottom line here is, how are you going to change? How are you going to get ahead if you keep doing the same stupid shit you did, yesterday, the day before, last year? And why am I talking about this? Because in order to get your life in a different direction, you've got to have some seed money. You got to have a way to start. Now, I get it. You can start with nothing. But it's a lot easier to start with a little something. Well, what do I mean here? Well, I just saw the numbers. The numbers are ridiculous. I mean, they're actually, people are buying more stuff today for Christmas than they did a year ago. That's right. And I've got some numbers here, right? Some things going on. So, hey, what are we looking at? There's a company called Affirm. That's right. There's a corporation called Affirm. And you know what Affirm is all about? It's a way in which to create the purchase through the store in which you don't have to pay for the shit now. It's kind of like a credit card. Do you realize that companies increased their business by 40% this year? In other words, 40% more of the 40% more of people who delay the purchase, well, not delaying the purchase. People who delay the payment are going through this company called Affirm, and it's up by 40% over last year. Does that sound good? I think on Black Friday, people bought $5 billion worth of stuff, and they haven't even come out yet with what's going on with Black Monday. My point is that if you just maintain all of this crazy consumerism, it's the ism, right? Socialism, communism, consumerism, then you're just going to be in the same damn position you were yesterday, last year. You can read the books, you can listen to the podcasts, you can watch the videos, you can do all this stuff. But if you don't change some behaviors, then you're just going to be in the same boat. Why do you want to be in the same boat with everybody else, floundering around in the middle of the ocean, the economic ocean, okay, with maybe just one paddle? What happens if you row with one paddle? Like, what happens if I go out and I row a boat? Well, I'm using one hand. Where do you think I'm going to go? I'm going in circles. That's where most people are going. They're in a rowboat, rowing with one hand. Don't do it. Check yourself, because if you can check yourself, everybody wants to give gifts at Christmas, but it's a big scam. Now, does that mean you can't give something? You can, but do you think you should first of all, do you think you should spend all of your money doing it? I don't think so. Do you think you should go into debt doing it? Absolutely not. It's bad enough to spend a big chunk of your money on Christmas. Now, if 50% of the population or more live paycheck to paycheck, how do they go out and buy Christmas presents? How do they go out and buy Hanukkah gifts? How do they go out and do any of these things? They go into freaking debt. They make companies like Affirm become wealthy. Right? In fact, that company just got an upgrade because it's doing so well. Because people are out there spending money they don't have to give gifts that people won't give a shit about in 6 months. Seriously, in order to change things, you got to change some behaviors, some very basic behaviors. Now, back in the day, there used to be a thing called the layaway, where sometimes, it might have been your mother, your father, most likely it was your mother. She'd go out and she'd start, she'd buy something, put it at a layaway and pay for it over time so that when Christmas came, she could get it. Now, there was also a thing called the Christmas Club at the bank, where you could open up an account, a special account, and every month you could put a few dollars into that account so that at the end of the year, you had your money necessary to buy Christmas presents. It's also known as a sinking fund in reality. There's some ways around this so you can still do Christmas without destroying your economics for December, January, and February. That's right. Because when do the credit card bills come in? When do the payments start to have to be made, right? I get it. You're going on sale. You're buying shit on sale. But remember, it's just stuff. It's, I'm not here to go deep into the reasons around Christmas and all of that. We all know that. We've all heard it. But most of us will then succumb to the advertising and the advertising and the advertising. And then the pressure of making sure that maybe you give your mom a better present than one of your siblings. I don't know what your motivation is. Maybe it's just pure, kindness and caring. But if you have to go into debt over kindness and caring, I can tell you that your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, they'll all tell you, don't do it. Don't do it. Why do it? You're just going to take away from what's going on as far as you're being able to pay your own bills. I know this, I'm kind of going on and on about this, but there are billions of dollars being spent, $5 billion being spent in one day to buy stuff at Walmart, Target, Amazon. Well, that would be more Monday. But for what reason? To make Jeff Bezos more rich? Seriously, people, right? Let's start to figure this out. I know this seems like, oh, he's just ragging on me. He's got a lot of money, so he can afford to rag on me. No, you've got to figure it out when you don't have any money. You got to figure it out when you're broke or in debt. If you don't start changing those behaviors, and I don't care if that behavior is based upon the motivation of kindness and charity. You can't give charity and go into debt. Don't you notice we have that problem with the federal government with $34 trillion into debt? Let's just take a second and talk about that bullshit. We're now $34 trillion. In just a handful of years, we've doubled the debt in this country. I believe that when Obama was president, it was around $19 trillion. We're literally going to double that since Obama was president. How's that possible? And then there's the consequences. The average cost of that debt keeps rising because the interest rates are going up. And as they refinance bonds that they sold, the treasury bonds to create the debt, they're refinancing these bonds at higher and higher interest rates. So just like your interest rates have gone up on your credit cards, so all this stuff's happening. Do you know that on Black Friday, I looked this up, on Black Friday, we all went out and spent $5 billion. I didn't, but you did. Maybe you, maybe somebody else. Somebody did. Do you realize on that day, on that specific day, the national debt went up by $10 billion? I mean, that's insane, right? I mean, that's like absolutely crazy. So you have to understand, this is what's going on in this country. This is going on with you. It's also going on with the federal government. There's going to be a price to pay. Why do you want to end up being as insolvent as the federal government? I just recently read that the average person at the age of 25 is almost $3,000 in credit card debt. At 25, we're not talking student loan debt. We're talking about the average person. So that means that there are some that have higher debt and some that have lower debt. But if you average all the debt out based upon age of 25, the average person is carrying almost $3,000 of debt. Don't you think that's kind of silly? How did that happen? We're not talking about a car loan here. We're talking about going to McDonald's. We're talking about going to buy stuff. Right? Pretty rough at the age of 25. In other words, for a lot of people, you've only been on your own for a couple of years, a few years, and you're already $3,000 in debt. That's nuts. The average person, average family is close to $8,000 in credit card debt. $8,000. Buying the same kind of crazy stuff the people who are single are buying. Well, they'll say, well, we had to buy groceries. Why should you be buying groceries on your credit card unless you're just doing it for convenience purposes and you're paying that off? All right. So these are the habits you don't, the thing about the federal government, they can print the money. You can't print money. So you can't act like they act. Money is finite to you. You only make so much. You have to pay certain bills. Otherwise, the electricity goes off or they repo your car or whatever. None of it's good. Okay. And so you then have to start to figure out how to live within your means and then how to live below your means. What are your means? The means are what you make every 2 weeks, every month, your income. Those are your means. Then there's your cost of living. I'm telling you, you got to get a hold of this because it's very difficult to break the chains of corporate slavery. That's right. I said it, corporate slavery. And if you don't think we're the modern day slaves, okay, of these corporations, then, you're being really, really naive. So you don't want that. You want to make sure that what you're doing, you want to make sure that if I tell people, you have to have a job when you start, right? Because you got to build up some money and you got to build up some credit. But then you're going to start building up some assets. You're going to start looking to buy assets, whether that be real estate if it's the right time, whether that be buying a small business at the right time, and then scaling that business. There is all of this that's out there for you. All of this. I just recently heard that the baby boomers control like $80 trillion. $80 trillion in this country. A big chunk of that $80 trillion is in small businesses in which they're looking to sell. They're looking to get out of, but they don't have a legacy plan. They don't have a plan for their kids to come in and take the business over because the kids hate the business because they grew up in it and they don't want to do any of whatever they're doing for one day longer. And or they're 50, 60 years old now and dad and mom, they're running the place. They're 75, 80 and they finally need to get out. Sometimes they're just looking for a protege. That's right. They're looking for a protege. They're looking for someone to come in. They can teach and maybe even give them the damn business. Whatever it takes, whatever we're talking about here relative to how to get into a business. But if you've got nothing going on and all you have is debt and all you keep doing is buying shit for whatever the reason, Christmas, whatever, go on vacation, whatever, and you just want to be a consumer, if you just want to be in consumerism, you'll never be in capitalism. Capitalism is the ability to go out, to do capital creation, bring money together, your money, other people's money, and then go out and do something with it. Besides buying stuff from Amazon, stuff from Walmart, stuff from Target, stuff that ends up in the basement, in the attic, in the closet, in the garbage 6 months later, a year later. And that's just another point I can tell you right now. One of the ways you change this habit is go sell all the crap you don't need anymore. You got a garage full of it. You got a basement full of it. You got a closet full of it. Go on eBay, sell the stuff. Put that money towards your change of your life into business, into buying real estate. These are the things I can tell you. These are the things I've lived through. I've seen it. I've seen it with tenants. I've seen people that continually rent because they spend all of their money. They make $100,000, but they seem they can't afford to buy a house. They can't even put together $8,000 to $10,000 for a FHA down payment, even to get their own damn house, let alone buy a house for investment purposes. Don't be one of these people. Break away from the crowd, right? There's money in the crowd. But break away from the crowd and then figure out how to make money from the crowd because the crowd is always there wanting to give you their money. Ask Jeff. He'll tell you. So think about what I just said. All right, it's really important. This is what changes lives. Think about it. Don't be one of the crowd. Talk to you soon. Let's get out there. Let's make it happen. And what do I tell you? Think big. Start now. Grow fast. V. Rigoni, Max, high-performance real estate entrepreneur. Let's smash the like button. Let's subscribe to the channel. Let's leave some comments. Talk to you soon.